Hi guys, it's Tara and welcome back after an extremely long hiatus to Crafting with Curly Cues. I am so excited to be back, you guys, and I have a fabulous no-line watercolor card to share with you guys, and I am using some gorgeous stamps from HoneyBee Stamps, which I found out is like super local to me. I had no idea and I'm super excited. I might have to go stock their warehouse or something. So anyway, you guys, I'm going to be using the Zen Floral stamp set as well as this Kindness stamp set, and I am using some Tim Holtz Distress Watercolor Cardstock to get going here. So I'm not going to lie, you guys, I picked like a super complicated card to do as my comeback, but I legit, no joke, wanted to spend 2 hours on a card. Like, I just missed crafting that much that I was like, I need to do this. I need to get in there and I need to be in there for like ever. So I picked this particular technique because it took me about 7 years. That's a lie. It took me about 2 hours, but it felt like 7 years. But it was a good 7 years, so no big deal. So I am using my MISTI to stamp this gorgeous floral border that comes in the Zen Floral stamp set onto that watercolor cardstock, and I am using antique linen distress ink. So the reason I'm using this particular distress ink is because I am going to be doing some no-line watercoloring today. And this particular color is extremely light, but it's dark enough that you can see it, so it's like the perfect ink, in my opinion, for distress marker no line watercoloring. So I am, as I stated just now, using my distress markers to do this particular technique. I cannot even remember the last time I busted out my distress markers, y'all. It has been a while. So I will tell you guys, this is one of those techniques that I feel like looks really super fancy and amazing when it's done. And the way that I do it anyway is really like not complicated or fancy at all. I'm sure you can really get really complicated and fancy with this, but you guys, it's just not in me to be that complicated and fancy. I'm just going to look from afar at the people that are that complicated and fancy and sigh wistfully and dream, and I'm going to do my simple techniques. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my color. This happens to be peeled paint. And I am simply tracing parts of the pattern that's already stamped out with that antique linen. And I am tracing the parts I want to kind of be a little bit deeper and have some shadow. I'm not being super like precise with this, you guys. It's mostly just like the outline and then like the little veins on the leaves. And then I'm taking my fine detail Ranger water brush and I am just coming in and spreading that ink around. And then I'll go back in with my distress marker and add a little bit more ink just to, you know, darken up certain areas or whatever. So I did those first couple leaves a lot slower for you guys. It was still double time. That's how slow I am at this. And then for the rest of this coloring, I like sped this puppy up to like 8 times the normal like time that it took me to do this, because y'all, legit, this took me 7 years and I didn't think you guys wanted to be watching this video for 7 years. I mean, I know you guys missed me. I'm kidding. I hope you missed me. I missed you, that's for sure. But even at that, you don't want to be watching me do no-line watercoloring for 7 years. So I went ahead and sped this up to like 8 times. So this is going super fast. I'll tell you guys really quick just a couple of the tricks. And then as I'm going, I'm flipping my card over and doing the other flowers in the exact same colors so that they're literally mirroring each other, because I stamped this stamp twice. But I'm not showing you both sides because, again, 7 years, right? So this is some crushed olive. So I'll give you guys just some of my particular tips and takeaways that I get when I do this technique is that I like to work with a fairly dry water brush, and that's mostly because I'm a giant control freak, and the more water you get, the less control you have over what that ink's going to do. So I like to keep my brush pretty dry. So what you can't see is that off camera, I actually have a paper towel, like just a plain old paper towel sitting over there, and I'm in between every color. I'm dabbing off my brush to get the color off of it so I don't contaminate the colors. And I'm also, if it starts to get too drippy, I'm dabbing it off on my paper towel because I don't need it to be drippy. So that is what's happening off camera that you cannot see. So I thought while I'm doing this coloring, since this is going to take me 7 years, that I would chat with you guys a little bit because I've been gone for forever and a day. So I have been gone since, I think I put my last video up, you guys, no joke, in like June or July of last year, which is insane to me. I literally can't even believe it's been 6 months since I last did a video, because it feels like forever, but at the same time does not feel like 6 months ago forever. You know what I'm saying? And so I did that video. Like, I have done a couple guest spots with like my favorite things in between there. So I mean, I've been around a little bit, but still, I've been working on some crazy like life balance techniques, you guys, because I'm sure a lot of you know, but I'll share it just for those of you that don't. I started a business last year. I sell LuLaRoe, and so that has taken up a lot of my time, and I love it, and I'm super passionate about it. But last year was a whirlwind, you guys. It just kind of like I started, and it went, and it ran without me, and it was like all I could do to keep up with the business. So my goal, like one of my New Year's resolutions this year, is to be better at time management, at scheduling, at working smarter, not harder, because there are things in my life, crafting being one of the huge ones, that I had to cut out in order to be able to do what I wanted to do with my business last year, that I really, really, really miss. And I am not willing to give that up. So this year I'm working really hard on getting my time management down, on being better with my scheduling, of making better use of my time so that I have time for self-care and for being here with you guys, because it legit like affected my mood to not be in my craft room, you guys. I love it in here with you. I love getting my hands inky and making beautiful creations and chatting with you guys. And I seriously, seriously missed it. So while I'm not going to make any promises or commitments as far as how many videos I plan on making or how frequently I'll be able to post them, I can promise you that I will be around. So hopefully as I get better with my schedule, it'll be a more consistent being around. But for now, I'm just going to take the time that I can get and just be thankful for that and be excited about it, and know that I am back to stay. I never really left for real. I didn't mean to leave. It just kind of happened by accident. But I definitely learned, I guess the silver lining here is that I learned how important this is to me and that it's not something I'm willing to sacrifice. So I am back, you guys. So I don't know what the heck's going to happen next, but let me tell you. You can't get rid of me that easily. So I did want to share with you guys kind of what my plan is going to be, though, from a big, giant, crazy comeback here. So I'm almost ashamed to admit this, you guys. I had to do some serious organizing before I could even get back in the craft room, because I may not have been crafting this whole time, but let me tell you what, I was certainly buying craft supplies. Because I've seen the meme that says that I've come to the conclusion that buying craft supplies and actually using them are two separate hobbies. So true over here. Guilty as charged. And I was buying a bunch of stuff, but it was just piling up on my desk, and I cannot work in chaos. So I had to get all that organized. And I realized, you guys, I have so much stuff that I have never touched, so much stuff. So I am going to make it kind of a fun game. So rather than buying all the new, amazing, fabulous new releases that are coming out, because I love them and I want them all, but I need to start, using what I have, I'm going to go on a mission this year to use every single supply in my craft room. I'm going to be focusing on stamp sets, but I want to try really hard to get into all my supplies, my paper pads, all that good stuff. So that's what you're going to be seeing. So unfortunately, you probably won't be seeing the newest stamp sets, but the good news is that I'll be using a bunch of stuff that I'm sure some of you guys have sitting in your stash already. So you maybe won't have to go buy a whole bunch of new stuff to create some of the looks that I'm going to be creating. And it's going to be fun. I'm going to put washi tape on them so that we know which ones I've used and which ones I haven't. It's going to be like a challenge. And you guys have to keep me focused, because it's going to be really hard not to buy all the new stuff. So now that I finished coloring all the flowers, back to the card, by the way, thanks for listening. I'm just taking some tumbled glass and putting little bits of color down and then blending it out around the flowers and blending it kind of into nothing with the water, just to add a smidge more shadow. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit that with my heat tool just to make sure all that is dry, because the last thing I want to do, you guys, is mess up this panel that took me 7 years to color. I was terrified to do this stamping, I'm not going to lie, because it took me 7 years to color this, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to booger up the stamping, and I'm going to have to start all over, and I'm going to freak out. But I didn't. That's part of why I used my MISTI, because I knew I'm stamping on watercolor cardstock. Even the smooth side is textured, so I'm going to want to do this a couple times, even though I'm using my VersaFine Black Onyx pigment ink, which is really good and crispy. But I did end up stamping this gorgeous handwritten giant kindness. This kindness stamp set from HoneyBee Stamps is stinking amazing, you guys. You can make so many different sentiments. It's phenomenal. So I stamped that twice, so I got a really solid, amazing, crisp image. It looks so gorgeous in person, you guys. Somebody asked me if I hand lettered it, and I was like, oh my gosh, do I ever wish. No, that is a stamp. And then I'm going to add some of the small sentiments from the set. I'm going to put spread kindness wherever you go on the front of this bad boy here. HoneyBee Stamps, I mentioned, you guys, I ordered an order from them, you know, during my hiatus while I was ordering all the supplies and not doing anything with them. And the order seriously showed up like legit, like it was like the next day or like 2 days later. And I was like, how the heck did this get here so fast? And I look at the package and you guys, they're like literally, no joke, like 15 minutes away from me. I had no idea that HoneyBee Stamps was located in this little town in Oregon right next to where I live. So I'm like, I seriously want to like drive by and stare at where they do their business. Is that creepy? I don't know. I'm allowed to be creepy, right? So I trimmed off the ends of that panel to make it a nice little panel. I don't know how long it is, you guys. I just trimmed it to where I had put the stamping. I wasn't trying to be super precise. And then I decided I wanted to put a little bit of a frame on it. So I took this teal cardstock from My Favorite Things. I forget exactly what color it is. I want to say Green-Eyed Monster. I could be wrong, but I want to say it's Green-Eyed Monster from My Favorite Things. And then I'm making a grout gray card base. I decided to make another one while I was at it because, you know, you cut the paper in two, might as well make a second card base. And I am going to adhere my panel as well as those little strips of cardstock on the front of this card base that I made. And I used the smallest stitched scallop border die from Lawn Fawn on that teal cardstock to add just a little bit of interest to this card. I mean, obviously I want the focal point to be the coloring because that is what I spent 7 years of my life doing, and that is what I want people's eye to be drawn to. And you guys, I don't like want to toot my own horn, and I'm really not, because I owe it all to that gorgeous, gorgeous Zen Floral stamp. It is very pretty in person. Like when you no line watercolor this, it looks very fancy. Like my husband seriously was like, no way you colored that. I was like, yes way, I colored that. And that's what happens when you use gorgeous stamps by amazing artists. It makes you look fabulous, which is what we all, you know, we love that, right? As card makers, as people who are drawing disinclined, I guess we could say, we love the amazing stamp designers that do amazing things. So I just kind of eyeballed where I put those scallop strips on the front of the card, and then I popped up this panel a little bit and I stuck that right on the front there. And that pretty much completes the card. I am going to do a little bit of stamping on the inside just because I'm going to try to do something on the inside of my cards. We'll see how long that lasts. I've tried to do this before. I created another sentiment that says, what a heart you have. So the outside says, spread kindness wherever you go. And then the inside says, what a heart you have. And I used some ice spruce distress ink to use a couple of those other images and stamp it inside to tie it all together. So there you can see the completed card. That coloring really takes focus. That is the focal point of the card. Another view of it, you can see how crispy that sentiment stamped, you guys. So fabulous. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Here's a couple other videos that might interest you. If you loved this one, you can join me on Instagram and Facebook. I'd love to have you, as well as over at my blog. You can find all the supplies I used listed below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.